Fire up your laptop, get your tablet, watch on your TV. Get yourself comfy, this could take a while. Make a cup of tea. There'll be songs, there'll be smiles. You might hear a story. Tell your family, get your friends round for a Stukeley assembly. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Monday. Today it's a Stukeley first. It's an outdoor broadcast. For the first part of assembly, we are going to do cheer, boo, song or silence from my mum and dad's back garden. I've come over to see them. We're doing it outside, and I thought the best person to cheer, boo, song or silence is my dad. He's very excited about this. He also has got a lot of hair and looks a bit like, that's my mum laughing, he looks a bit like Charles Dickens. So when you see him, it is my dad, not Charles Dickens. What's he gonna get? Cheer, boo, song or silence? Have a chat at home and in your classrooms. Right, here we go, everyone. Out you come, my dad! He will get a haircut at some point, I promise. Cheers. And we're back in the other Stukeley house. It was really good to see my mum and dad just now. I hadn't seen them for a long time, and it was nice to have a couple of hours in the garden with them and seeing them in real life, not on Zoom. Right, for each other we, every day we, to improve we, together we will. Every single Stukeley day we focus on. Our Stukeley motto is, our Stukeley curriculum is, and 4 words that make the magic happen. Yes. Right, welcome to Monday. At the end of today's assembly, I'm going to talk about the rest of the week. But for now, we're going to think about Battenberg, one of my favourite cakes of all time. And before we get the workbook out, let me tell you a little story, and this really made me smile. On Friday last week, when Mrs. Stevens and I were handing out workbooks to lots of families, Joshua in Year 2's mum came into school to collect his book. And she said, oh, Joshua's loving learning about Battenberg, but he didn't know what it was, really, so we bought him one. And he didn't like it. He just didn't enjoy it. And that's okay. And his dad also did not enjoy it. And that's okay. But his mum, she ended up eating most of it because nobody else would. And she thought it was delicious. And she said 4 words to me, which my mum used to say to me, which is waste not, want not. And that basically means, if you want something, don't waste it. Because it's important not to waste things. Anyway, love that Battenberg story. Right, grab your workbooks. We're not going to go straight into them, but get them, get a pencil or a pen, and let's get cracking. Right, before we get going on Battenberg, this is really, for me, a quick reminder about how we remember. Now, you can talk about this as I'm doing it. We start off with information. It might be about Battenberg, it might be about prime ministers, it might be about capital cities, it might be about the 5 pillars of Islam, any information. We then concentrate on some of it. And here is a face with a big old chin. So we concentrate on the information we want to learn, and that then goes into our working memory. And our working memory is not very big, so we can't keep loads of information in our memory all at one time, so lots of that is then forgotten. So new information goes in here, we forget lots of it. But if we don't want to forget it, if we want to keep it there forever, we need to put it into our long-term memory. And our long-term memory is absolutely massive. And the best way to keep it in our long-term memory is to try and get it into a schema. Now, a schema is like a folder. It's like a book. It's like a box that connects lots of information about the same things. Okay, so there's all our different schemas in our long-term memory. The best way, the absolute best way to get it stuck into a schema is to tell something like a story. That's a picture of a fairy tale castle. Or the other way is to have it as an event or an episode. So things that have happened almost over time. They're the best ways to remember things. But most information may not come like that. There's stories and episodes. So actually, what we have to do is space out lots of retrieval. And I'm going to do an arrow there and an arrow there. So we need to make sure we keep forgetting and remembering. Forgetting and remembering. Forgetting, remembering, forgetting, remembering. And here we put an S and an R for spacing and retrieval. That was about 3 minutes worth of how we remember. I'm going to move that on now. Please, can you get your workbooks? You're going to turn to the back inside page. And this is what we've done already. We've done some work on lockdown, we've done some work on schemas, and we're now learning about Battenberg. So far, we've said what it is. Hey everyone, join in with our little chant. We know it's got 4 squares: pink, yellow, yellow, pink, apricot jam and marzipan. Pink, yellow, yellow, pink, apricot jam and marzipan. Come on, pink, yellow, yellow, pink, apricot jam and marzipan. So that's what Battenberg is. And we know that most of the Joshua in Year 2 family don't enjoy it. Not quite sure how many others do, but I love it. Right, and then we talked about the name. So we know what it is and how it got its name. Well, we know that in 1884, Prince Louis of Battenberg married Princess Victoria. And because he came from a German town, or he was the prince of a German town called Battenberg, that is how it gets its name. You should all have that in your books at the moment. And if you had a blank bit of paper and I said, write down everything you know about Battenberg, I hope we'd see some of this. Today we're going to do a bit of work on history, where Battenberg came from and what's happened to it over the years. Please, please, please listen to this. Oh, the phone's ringing. Let me just pause this while I answer it. And we're back. That was my father-in-law ringing up. He's one of only 2 people that ring the landline. But there's probably the same in your houses. Right, so we know what it is. We know where the name came from. Right, a really quick bit of history. Please write this information down in order to try and retrieve it or remember it later on. Right, Battenberg. It's had other names. It has been called, and I'm going to put this here, domino cake. Just going to put DC. Now, if you wanted to, you could draw some dominoes standing up and then falling over. Completely up to you. Just show you that. Right, it has been called domino cake. It's also been called Neapolitan roll. No idea why, but that's another name that it's had before. Domino cake, Neapolitan roll, and this one makes much more sense. It's also been called church window cake because of the patterns on the sponge. So those are three names that it has been given over the years. Domino cake, Neapolitan roll, and church window cake. Now I'm going to give you 4 dates. I will be very, very, very impressed if anybody can remember these dates. We've already got the first one, so I'm going to do a little timeline here. Try and keep up with me. I'm going to try and go quite quickly. Right, we know that in 1884 there was a wedding, and all I'm going to do here is draw a groom and a bride and do the little ring in the middle. That is the worst picture you have ever seen, but it should be the same as this one. So we know there was a wedding in 1884, and we think that's when Battenberg was given its name. Right, let me tell you something else. Let's do a little line. In 1898, Battenberg was seen in a shop for the first time. So all I'm going to do is that and write shop on it. So in 1890, that's quite a few years later actually, Battenberg was seen in a shop for the first time. Then in 1903, so this is a few years later, Battenberg was seen written about in a book for the first time. So here is my picture of a book. Awful, awful picture. And then finally, and this is the most interesting one for me, in 1923, so that's quite a few years later again, Battenberg was still being made actually with 9 squares. So here it has 4 squares, and here it has 4 squares. Today it has 4 squares. Some people might make it with more, but in 1923 it was still being made with 9 squares. Right, loads of information there, loads and loads and loads. Let's have a quick recap and then we can carry on with our day. So, we know the history of Battenberg tells us it was called domino cake, Neapolitan roll, or church window cake. In 1884, it was given its name because of the wedding. In 1898, it appeared in a shop for the first time that we know of. In 1903, Battenberg was talked about in a book, in a recipe book. And in 1923, it was still being made with 9 squares. And I think soon after that, it moved to 4. Just like that. Right, your page is almost full. The only thing we haven't got, which we'll do next week, are facts about Battenberg. And why eating too much would not be a good thing. Interesting. Right, great learning everyone. We've got a little bit more Battenberg learning to do, and then if we really want to get it into our long-term memory, we're going to need to keep retrieving it and keep going back to it. We don't have to spend ages on it. We just need little reminders every so often. Okay, rest of the week. I'm very excited about this week. This afternoon, we've got foundation stage children coming to visit us. I cannot wait to see you all. Tomorrow we've got year 1 children coming to visit us. Short time, but it's going to be great to see you all. And then on Wednesday we've got year 6s coming to visit us. Again, it's a short and sweet time, but I'm really excited about seeing people together on the field, albeit spread out. Also tomorrow we've got a Mrs. Stevens Values Assembly, and that's got lots of our children in, so that's also going to be great. Wednesday, I think we're going to finish off Northanger Abbey. Whew. It's been a long and tricky book, that one. Thursday, singing assembly. And we might have Mr. and Mrs. Coops returning to Coops and the Gang. Friday, I know you're all desperate to know this. I'm not going to tell you just yet, but we've had daring, sharing, scaring, staring, and chairing this Friday. Very different one. Have a good day. Keep working hard and being kind. Fire up your laptop, get your tablet, watch on your TV. Get yourself comfy, this could take a while, make a cup of tea. There'll be songs, there'll be smiles, you might hear a story. Tell your family, get your friends round for a Stukeley assembly.